Я переходжу до нашого наступного спікера. Хочу анонсувати зараз Мартіна Дюплантьє, архітектора, урбаніста та президента АМО та АМО Фондейшн, який це представник архітектор із Франції. Зараз буквально пару секунд, і ми запустимо його презентацію.
So I'm a French Belgian architect, originally based in Paris and in Bordeaux, and I've been involved in some academic works since 2015 in Ukraine. And so since the start of this full-scale invasion, we started to create a group that then became an office and a charity fund called Art for UA, Architecture for Ukraine. Um, so we operate right now from two different points, from Lviv as well as from Kiev since last month. We started to be also in Kiev. And through this charity fund and this LLC, we have conducted a number of projects. So I'll just focus on a few of them. But to present our approach and the way we see how we can help to look at this huge work of recovery and reconstruction, and also reparation, because it's not only about rebuilding, it's also about repairing both the mines and the buildings and the cities. So our approach is to look at the context, of course, to be anti-Soviet in this sense, so no copy paste, but rather understanding not only the built heritage, but also the unbuilt one, the landscapes, the relationships between the cities and their surroundings. To be also able to activate resources, natural and local resources. Of course, in an innovative way, in a way where um, um, post-carbon industry for construction is being developed, and I think Ukraine has a huge potential in this sense, where you can really go forward out of the lobbies that we guys in Western Europe or in the States would have to fight with. I think this is probably a unique opportunity to really switch and go to some very innovative construction methods. But of course, to be inclusive and to understand what the social impact of these projects can be, while not, let's say, opposing temporalities, like not opposing emergency and long term, but rather to find solutions that are often not much more expensive, that can last long, but that can also, in the meantime, answer an emergency and be a short-term solution that can long last. I've been on the board of the Emergency Architects, which is a worldwide foundation for a number of time, and we've been always fighting against temporary solution because things never end up being temporary. They always last much longer, and you don't want people to live in prefab boxes that are just made for a couple of weeks. We see that already. These neighborhoods of prefab houses for IDPs that actually end up being completely empty now. Um, so we started our work since 2022, tracking heritage losses, trying to raise awareness among the media, the Western media, among UNESCO, among a number of big foundations in the West to try to help bring money to at least protect the ruins of these buildings and record, archive, um, track, map all of these heritage losses. So that's the we've been focused on different cities. You can see five of them here, and we extended it to Odessa as well. Um, we've organized a few programs and still organizing a program with Expertise France in Chernihiv on wooden houses. We've conducted a some work also with UNESCO on Chernihiv, providing some expertise and also dedicating time to education and, among others, Kharkiv School of Architecture, where we conducted a studio around industrial heritage. The shelters and the schools are also part of the works that we have done, and we will soon publish this Ukraine School Atlas that is actually a book of not only a catalog of numerous standards of schools, but also a book for their adaptation and some kind of a tutorial for their renewal and their adaptation to the new norm. So we've analyzed the ways they were built, and we've seen that they could easily be adapted to actually host more kids and create, thanks to these new shelters. So you can see here, for example, the green, where we reinforce the structure, the concrete structure of the basement of these schools. Some schools don't have any basement, so we have to create a shelter in the courtyard or somewhere else. And we also take advantage of this um, to renew the spaces of the schools and to create a more creative environment for them. And we've also looked at different ways of creating bomb shelters in the regions where they're the most needed, which is like 40 kilometers away from the front line. Um, um, and uh, and here you can see some schematic sections about the creation of underground and overground shelters. I know it's not in the regulation to be overground, but this is possible, and this is in the worst case something that is doable thanks to specific window protections and etc. So we've teamed up with a number of engineers on this, mainly from Israel, and we did some simulations of shelling on these structures and to see how they can react to the bigger missiles that Russia is using at the moment. So here you can see some views of these shelters. Of course, these shelters are not only available for schools, they can also be developed in small communities, in small villages where we also know that there are no shelters for the moment. And let's not forget about these small villages. We try to also develop a double use system for these shelters, because what we learned from Israel is that a shelter that is only a shelter end up not being used very much. And once you really need it, then it doesn't work. Like, I don't know, the lighting doesn't work or the plumbery, etc. So you have to imagine a double use for it so that it's used on a daily basis and for another purpose. and then it really is the guarantee that it works continuously. So here we're merging the shelter with some community space, with some kind of street market space where local retail can take place, and we have some kind of a uh, market stalls and common spaces in this shelter. There can be also some community space, etc. And we in this book there will be a construction guide as well to um, give some more insights of how things can be done. Um, then we've looked at broader projects on cities, so more some kind of an urban vision for different cities, like Isium, for example, where we've searched for the archives of the cities, the Soviet ones, but also the pre-Soviet ones. We've developed quite an extensive work um, on the city on its redevelopment. Um, we've also, thanks to the work with UNESCO, looked at Chernihiv as a way to not only do the heritage assessment, but also how to activate it and how to link the different heritage sites. That could really be a network of interesting points in the city, and this could create also a pedestrian loop, and making the city much more enjoyable and comfortable for pedestrians. And now we're starting our work on wooden houses, how to protect them, how to renew them, how to bring comfort to them, and how to make sure this heritage is not lost, but can also be part of their redevelopment and touristic attractiveness. Um, Also, some work on Zaporizhia will be needed on their redevelopment plan, knowing that the big industry is very central and is a potential for urban redevelopment. Then our analysis of the situation in Ukraine is in Europe is that we need to change the way we build buildings. We need to change. We need to be more local, use some natural bio-based materials so that we reduce our carbon footprint. The construction sector is 40% responsible for 40% of the global emissions. So we have a big responsibility for the environment, but as well for the economy, the local economy. So we have to give these tools to Ukraine and Ukrainians, so that the reconstruction is not imported, but it's really relevant, and it's a leverage for future redevelopment and also for the local economy. Ukraine used to be the first European producer of construction materials. Well, now it has to be turned into a natural, sustainable material maker, to retrieve historical skills, and also to develop a low energy, low carbon industry. And not only because it's ideologically in the right sense of history, but also because it is just a matter of survival for you guys, being away from Russian oil and gas industry. So we propose to start this new industrial paradigm through what we call an eco-material cluster, which is a place where the different players, the different actors of wooden prefab, renders, clay concrete, straw panels, recycled concrete, all of them can actually gather, mutualize a number of spaces like a showroom, R&D, R&D offices, but as well maybe an amphitheater, any kind of restaurant, etc., any kind of things that can be mutualized. And then they can also team up, share some resources, and make sure they lobby in the right way to get more and more projects done in this way. And the idea is really not to do some copy paste of a model that could be brought from anywhere else, but it's really to be linked to the identity of Ukraine and to bring and to build a contemporary Ukraine from out of these roots, out of these historical roots. And you have an amazing history in this sense. So the idea is that this cluster for collaborative innovations should bring not only production, recycling, training, and R&D, as I said. So it's a new approach for the construction sector with a new economy, which is a key tool for the future and for the quality of your redevelopment and reconstruction period. So some of these industrials from Western Europe are really interested in coming and sharing the knowledge, sharing their patents and their technologies. For example, Matarop, which is a raw clay cement producer from France, um, they managed to find a way to create concrete out of raw clay. So without bringing clinker, which is highly carbon printed, and in this way, it creates a place for it creates a product that is 70 to 80% less carbon intensive than concrete with the same properties and the same tools as concrete. So it's quite interesting. And linked to this eco-material cluster, we think that we should also bring some let's say cartographic mapped tools, and that's why we launched a national initiative called Rebuild Green Ukraine. This is really an open data where you can find a map of resources, a map of manufacturers, a list of these resources and manufacturers, a charter, of course. You can sign in, and we will start to update on a weekly basis all the different conferences, the education programs, the news, etc., about all the initiatives around natural materials and bio-based and geo-based materials. So the idea is really to have this open data where anyone can actually localize these different manufacturers and local resources. And every time you have a project here or there, you can easily get an idea of what you have 200 kilometers around your site. And if you want to be um, responsible and have an impact, a local impact, a positive local impact, then it's quite easy to contact these guys and etc. So these platform, this digital platform, is a way also to promote our idea of this eco-material cluster, where we would need from 5 to 10 hectares to actually make a significant cluster for these manufacturers of bio-based construction materials. And so we are really quite actively looking for that. Now, a few projects. One, and it's a museum in Ivankiv for Maria Primachenko. This is on the ruins of the former museum that has been shelled by Russia in 2022. and it's a magnificent landscape above the river in the park. And what we're proposing is something quite rational. It's both a museum and a community space with a cafe, so on 2 stories. Very simple, with a nice timber structure, and some rammed earth above, straw panels in the as partition walls, and the half basement is done out of stone and these clay raw clay cement. So you can see a few images here of how these should look like. Then we are also conducting a project in Vorzel, in Ramada of Bucha, on a European or French Ukrainian cultural center. This is on the domain of the Uvaros family. So the Uvaros family were some white Ukrainian family that fled during the Bolshevik Revolution to France, and actually that was the link between Vorzel and France, and some of the grandkids of the initial Uvarovs from Vorzel actually came back to Ukraine, Igor, and so we met him and we started to work on his family's museum, which is the small white building that you see in the right hand, and to see how we could extend this history and bring some culture or cultural spaces around the museum of his family. So we have on the right some kind of an outdoor space for concerts or events, and then on the left we have this big building which is mainly a gathering, an auditorium, a library, a research center, and a couple of administrative spaces with a cafe. So a nice place for research and for gatherings. Then we're also conducting, but I will go through quite rapidly, a sport and cultural center in Borodyanka that we will soon be able to publish and talk more about it. And we're in Dnipro, working on a bigger existing building to be turned into an IDP housing for 350 families from Mariupol. These families will be in the upper floors, and on the ground floor we will have a cultural center dedicated to gastronomy. We called it La Cantine de Mariupol because the whole project is financed by the French government, and this gastronomic center will be linked to chefs from both France and Ukraine, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about it more in depth very soon as well. And I wanted to thank you all, and I wish you an amazing hackathon today. So don't hesitate to contact us. Don't hesitate to register to rebuildgreenua.com as well, because it will only be a success if everyone joins, and we all need to be really convinced and together to redevelop the country in a proper way. Thank you again.